Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing the mid-year tag, and I freaking love these videos. If you know me, then you know that I'm obsessed with self-reflection, checking in on my goals, seeing what I want to do in the future. And I feel like the mid-year tag is the perfect time for this because I get to talk about all the amazing books that I've read so far this year. And I also get to talk about how I want to spend my time for the rest of the year. And I'm like, does it really get better than that? I don't actually think so at all. I'm going to be using the same questions that I used last year. If you guys want to use these questions in the mid-year tag yourself, I'll be sure to link them in the description box. And I think that's it. So without further ado, let's get into the mid-year tag and talk about all the freaking books. I guess not all of them, but a lot of the highlights that I've read in 2025 so far. Question number one is an absolute banger, and it is best book that you've read so far in 2025. Now, if I'm being so honest, 2025 has been a bit of a mid-reading year. Like, I have not had a ton of books that I am absolutely obsessed with. However, there are two books that come to mind, and the first one, I'm so excited to talk about this. We will be talking about it more in my wrap-up. It's a very recent read, but can't pass up an opportunity to talk about it. And that book is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I've been working my way through this series for what feels like a really long time now, and I finally made it to the epic conclusion of Throne of Glass, and I absolutely loved it. I was laughing, I was crying, and I feel like the way that you really know is if you're left feeling a little bit empty inside, and I felt very empty inside after reading this book. For all of you Throne of Glass girlies, I did it. I'm in the club. And I'm so happy to be here. Also, this might go without saying, I probably should have said it at the beginning of this video, but I'm not going to be diving into the plots because I want to crank out all these questions as quickly as I can. And then the second book that I wanted to use for this question is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is the fourth book in the Magnolia Park series, and this is probably my second favorite book from the year. I loved this so much. I love the characters, and bottom line, they feel so real to me. Like, both this universe and this universe feel 100% real in my brain, and that's kind of, for me at least, what makes or breaks a book for me, a 5, a 6-star read for me. If I feel like I could actually be besties with the characters, it's up here. I don't have two books for every question, just a couple in the beginning, and then I have one for everything. The next is new releases you haven't read yet but want to, and there's a few. As you guys know, I've been working my way through my physical TBR, meaning I'm not allowed to buy any new books, and that includes new releases. So I'm a little behind on new releases, and there's two that come to mind for this question. The first one is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I love Ashley Poston. The 7-Year Slip is a 6-star read for me. I'm obsessed with her, and I think she brings something so unique to all of her romances. Like, how often do we read a romance with magical realism and it's seamless? Like, that doesn't sound amazing to me, but it is amazing. Her execution is perfect, and it hurts me that I have not read Sounds Like Love yet because I want to so bad. And then the other one is Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. Since I've become so obsessed with the Magnolia Parks universe and she came out with Conditions of Will, I, of course, really want to pick up her new release. But again, I don't want to go, it's not technically out of order, but I prefer to read the Magnolia Park series first and then jump into this just to kind of feel like I've finished what I've started, if that makes sense. I have one more book left to go in the Magnolia Park series, and then I will permit myself to read the Conditions of Will. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And honestly, I had to kind of take a second to think about this question because a lot of my most anticipated releases have come out in the first 6 months. All 4 of my favorite authors have released new books in the first 6 months of this year. And so I was like, am I looking forward to anything else? So I did some research, okay, and I discovered I did not know that this book was coming out until I was trying to figure out how to answer this question. And Rebecca Ross is coming out with a new book in September of this year called Wild Reverence, and it's supposed to take place in the same world as the Divine Rivals duology. So the magic and the world building is all the same, but I think it's a completely different story. I'm not sure if you need to read the Divine Rivals duology first, but since I'm obsessed with her and her writing, it was really exciting to me to not only hear that she's coming out with the new book, because honestly, she's probably going to become an auto-buy author for me, but the fact that it's also in the same world. I love it when authors do that. The next question is biggest surprise of 2025 so far. And honestly, this one again was a little bit difficult for me to answer because a lot of these questions are like, highlight all the amazing books that you've read, and I haven't had a ton of books that I'm like so obsessed with, which is kind of sad. But when I got to thinking about this, I think the book that I want to use for this is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is her memoir, and I read it this year, and I really enjoyed it. I actually listened to the audiobook version of her memoir, and it was stunning. Like, I just felt like as a mid-20-year-old, listening to her stories and the way that she learns about love and how she perceives herself in the world and as a receiver and a giver of love, like all of this stuff, it really resonated with me. I really appreciated what she was trying to do, and I feel like now, like at my age, was the perfect time to read it. And the reason it's kind of a surprise is because I randomly checked this out from the library when it was available. I wasn't like hoping to read it. It wasn't on my TBR, but it just happened to be available. So I checked it out, I listened to it, and I loved it. It was so good. Up next, we have newest fictional crush. And this is usually one of my favorite questions to answer. But again, some of the book men have, it's not even the men, it's not their fault. They just have fallen a little bit short for me this year. And I have two for this one. The first one is Xavier from Say You'll Remember Me. I wasn't head over heels obsessed with Say You'll Remember Me, but I will say I did really love Xavier. I think he was such a sweet and thoughtful character. He was all about actions, and I just absolutely loved him specifically when I was reading about him. Everything that he would do, everything that he would say, I just absolutely loved. And then the second book boyfriend that I honestly really adored this year was Shep from Ready or Not. Shep was just the sweetest guy in here. I felt like he showed up for Willa in all the right ways. And again, while this wasn't my favorite romance that I've ever read, if we're talking about Shep, if we're talking about the love interest, he showed up. And I really just love men. Again, acts of service men, for some reason, I really love them in books. And that's kind of all I have to say about that. Xavier and Shep, kings. Book that made you cry. Weirdly, guys, weirdly, Kingdom of Ash is not the book I'm using for this question. It's Empire of Storms. Everyone told me that Kingdom of Ash was going to wreck me, and it did, but I cried more for sure reading Empire of Storms. This ends, with no spoilers, on a major cliffhanger, and I was like, sure, how bad can it be? Whatever. And I did the tandem read, so it wasn't horrible, but oh my God, I'm looking at my reading chair right now because I vividly remember just bawling in that chair for hours. This book made me cry so hard. If you guys have read this series, then you know what I'm referring to. But yeah, particularly the last like 100 pages, I was just getting tossed around. Sarah J. Maas had me wrapped around her little finger, and it made me cry like a little baby. Up next, we have Book That Made You Happy, and I have to say Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. While this wasn't my favorite Emily Henry book that I've ever read, I will stand by this. There is something so comforting about being in the presence of your favorite author's writing, or just like an author that you love and that you're familiar with. For me, I love the way that Emily Henry tells stories. I love her writing style. Oh, it just got so dark. Sorry about that. Hopefully the clouds go back. But anyway, as I was saying, I didn't absolutely love the story in this, but I loved the storytelling, and just going to the bookstore, picking up this book, reading Emily Henry's words and her sentences and her chapters. Like, I just felt so much joy while reading this book because of my connection to Emily Henry as an author. I feel like this might be a little bit surprising that I'm putting this for this question, but overall, just getting to pick up this book and like the experience of reading this book and reading this with the world as it came out, that whole experience was just so much fun for me. And so, yeah, this book definitely overall made me very happy. Then we have most beautiful book that you have bought or received this year. Now, this is kind of cheating my answer for this question because technically I received this for Christmas at the end of 2024. But I never got a chance to talk about it because that was at the very, very end of 2024. And so I'm going to count it in this video. That book is a special edition of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. My mom got me this book for Christmas last year because she knows that I absolutely love The Great Gatsby. This is in my top 5 classics, 100%. For a long time, it was my number 1 classic, but I read Dracula last year and it just completely surpassed this for me. Like, I absolutely love that book. But this edition, guys, take a nice long look at this. I love everything about this. There's also beautiful illustrations on the inside, and it gives me the urge to reread The Great Gatsby. I've reread this book multiple times, but now that I have an illustrated edition, I'm like, do I reread it again? And so this sits facing out on my classics shelf because I just love this edition so much. A little bit cheating, but this is definitely the prettiest book I've maybe received ever, so I wanted to talk about it in this video. Nobody talks about how your legs and your body starts to fall asleep from sitting down and filming these videos for so long. Number 10 is what books do you need to read by the end of this year? And for all the besties, you guys are fully aware that I am on a journey to completing my physical TBR quite literally. It's not like I have a little monthly TBR and I'm trying to read most of those books. No, I'm trying to quite literally get my physical TBR down to 0. I'm doing a whole series on TikTok and Shorts, and there's only a few books left. And so the books that I've decided to use for this particular question are The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, and Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This book I have not had too long. I got this for either Christmas or my birthday, which is December and March. I feel like I got this for my birthday. So March, no, that can't be right. Let's go with Christmas. And then this book I've got for my birthday in like 2023, definitely 2023. Like, this book, for some reason, is one of the lone survivors. Like, it's just been sitting on my shelf for a long time. And I think the main reason is I haven't been starting series. I've literally just been finishing them. And so I've been putting this off for a really long time. And so these are 2 of the final books on my physical TBR that I absolutely need to read, hopefully sooner rather than later. Hype me up in the comments if you've read either one of these because they seem like great books and I have no good reason to put them off. What books do you want to reread this year? I just did an entire video about this. I will link it in the description box if you guys are interested in hearing, well, all the books that I have already reread and loved or books that I'm hoping to reread. But as I've said, the number 1 book that I want to reread in 2025 is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I haven't read this since 2020 when this book came out, and it's still to this day my second favorite Emily Henry book. And I'm so curious to know what I would think 5 years later, which is almost impossible to believe coming out of my mouth. But yeah, I'm really excited to reread this book. I don't know when I'm going to do it. It needs to be this summer, right? Like, I can't just let this go until fall or winter. It needs to be soon. I struggle sometimes with prioritizing rereads, but we're going to do it because I know I'll be so happy that I did it. Not going to dwell on this question too long, but favorite author so far this year. Again, this has to be either Jessa Hastings or Sarah J. Maas. I love them both. I've read so many books from both of them this year, mostly because I've been working my way through decently long series by both of these authors. But yeah, love them and they're definitely my favorite. Now, the next question is books you've been putting off. And when I was working on my mid-year tag, I realized that the same book was the answer to this question last year, and that was really an eye-opening experience for me. That book, no surprise. I know, it's no surprise. That book is The Bee Sting, and I know that I've been putting this off. It's gotten picked on probably 10 TBRs, and I've avoided it 10 out of 10 times. I don't have a good reason. All I can say is I never feel like I'm in the mood for picking this book up. It's long, it's sad, it's not a light, fun, happy read, and so I don't often feel the urge and by often I mean ever, to pick this book up. And we're getting to the point where I think this might be the last book on my physical TBR when all things are said and done. And I'm gonna have to read this if I want to read any other books ever. I'll probably love it and it'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I let this sit on my shelf for so long. But yeah, I don't wanna talk about it. This is the book I've been avoiding, and I'm so sorry. Number 14 is a book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. And for me, this one has to be, again, Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Apologies for the repeats, but this is the best one that I could think of for this question. I gave this book, again, it's kind of 3.75, 4-star range. So it wasn't like my favorite read ever, but I definitely think I enjoyed it a lot more than most people. The biggest complaint for anyone that I watch is that this book was a bit too sad for them. It felt so unrealistic because it was so sad and it wasn't happy. But to me, the sadness of this book is what made it feel so realistic. And that's the part that I actually really appreciated. There were other things that I didn't love as much, like the insta-love trope. A few other things were not my favorite. But overall, I did really enjoy this book, and it still felt like the Abby Jimenez that I know and love. You just have to kind of know what you're getting before going into it. So I think a lot of people maybe had the wrong expectations, perhaps, and that's why they didn't love it. Up next, we have series you want to finish by the end of the year. And of course, I want to finish Magnolia Parks by the end of this year. I only have one more book left to go in the books that have been released so far. I just have Into the Dark, and I'm terrified. I definitely prefer the Daisy Hates books to the Magnolia books, but I love those little like breadcrumbs that we get of Daisy and Christian in the Magnolia Parks books. And so I have been putting the 5th book off, partly because I don't know if I'm ready for it, but also because I don't own it, and I'm a broken record, but if I don't own it, I'm not really reading it right now. I really have loved this series, and I started it almost a year ago. So it would be really, really cool to, you know, start and finish a series within a year, which for some people is probably kind of slow, but for me, pretty good pace. And then the other book that I have for this question is Divine Rivals. This is so easy. It's literally one more book. This is only a duology. I think Ruthless Vows is on Kindle Unlimited. And so I have no good argument against not picking up Ruthless Vows. I think part of it is this book just crushed me at the end. I definitely cried a lot when this book ended because we got a bit of a cliffhanger and some plot twists and all these kinds of different things that were going on. And I struggle sometimes when I know the characters are going to be uncomfortable or they're going to be unhappy, because like I feel what the characters are feeling. I really, really strongly cannot stress enough that I take on what the characters are going through. Like I'm imagining that I'm experiencing their pain, or I'm kind of creating a similar situation in my own life. And so when I'm reading this and I'm picturing myself, not me in this book, but I'm like imagining what it would be like to go through that kind of pain, I can't pick up the second book because what's gonna happen? So yeah, I loved this book. It was a 5-star for me. I haven't read the second one and I'm sorry about it. Oh my goodness, it's so dark. The clouds are all over the place today. Last but not least, we have a 5-star prediction. And for this one, I had to go with Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have rated her most recent 4 releases all 5 stars. And so, I mean, at this rate, it seems more likely than unlikely that I would rate Atmosphere 5 stars. Also, Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston, Ruthless Vows, Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. There's a lot of books that I could put for this question, but for sake of keeping it funky, fresh, and giving you a new answer, I'm gonna go with Atmosphere. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that book. That is officially the end of the mid-year tag. I had so much fun filming this video. If you guys have any fun mid-year reading updates, whether that's your favorite book, your least favorite book, tell me, let me know. I would love to hear it, or just honestly any notable updates from your reading year thus far. Tell me about it. Like I said, I've had a lot of 3-star range books this year, and so I'm really hoping that going into the second half of the year, we can take it up a notch and I can just find so many books that I love and that I'm obsessed with, because a few more 4 and 5 stars would be great. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment down below the star emoji so I know who made it all the way here. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys are having a great day and a great reading month, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.